When I was younger, I was always interested in tabletop games because of how much it brought my friends and I together. Mostly revolving around board games and tabletop RPGs like D&D, Cyberpunk, and Call of Cthulhu, but there was always one section of tabletop that I was far too afraid to get into, and that is Warhammer 40k. For me, it seemed too complicated, had too much time investment, I couldn't understand where to start or how to play, but now that I'm older and have more resources to do so, I can finally start getting into tabletop war games, and it's a lot to unpack. I wanted to dive in as much as possible, but before I could even play my first match, I have to figure out what army to run, what units to use, get the codex, tally up the cost, understand the rules, get the pieces, build everything, paint it all, and hopefully not get smashed in my first game. This is the story of how I took my first steps to Warhammer 40,000. But before we can continue, let's take a few steps back. Created in 1975, Games Workshop started off producing wooden boards for games like backgammon, chess, and Mancala, later becoming the exclusive importer for the newly created role-playing game, Dungeons & Dragons. The game was a huge success, and Games Workshop sought to capitalize on the market by starting another company in 1979 by the name of Citadel, where they manufactures miniatures representing characters from various role-playing games at the time. Citadel was a huge hit, and they were being sold left and right. But the only problem was they were being collected so much, people had miniatures laying around collecting dust. So in 1987, Games Workshop released their first book with the goal to fix this problem by creating a game where you would take all your collected minis and place them in an army to wage war on another person's collection, and this was the beginning of Warhammer 40k.
My buddy showed me a codex, and then I read it in about 10 minutes, and then spent the next 6 hours Googling stuff online. It was actually, no, it wasn't a codex. It was the 8th edition, big compendium that just had all the rules set and stories and stuff. Yes, it was the 8th core book. 3-4 years ago? That's a question that I'd have to spend a lot, because I have ballpark. Oof. Rough estimate, $200 to $2,500.
It's at least 1,000 altogether. At least 1,000.
It has been 4 years since I got into the Warhammer 40,000 hobby, and in that time I can't view it as time wasted or money wasted, or even though large numbers fly around when it comes to models, books, and everything else, but there's so much more to it. In these 4 years, I have met some of my greatest friends, and it has also got me through COVID, among many other rough times, due to what it has to offer. Unlike a video game where you pay $60 and you pick it up, you play it, and then once you're done, you forget about it, and maybe in some cases you can go back, but Warhammer has something much more to offer. It offers creativity, critical thinking, strategy skills by playing the game, and it offers personal growth. And in many other communities where there's a competitive scene, it's not toxic. Everybody, once they learn you get into Warhammer, they're openly armed, greeting you, and they were willing to talk to you for hours and hours about the hobby, unlike any other thing where it just kind of devolves into mostly complaining, much like the video game industry. Warhammer 40k is something special, and it is one of the largest growing tabletop games in the world as it currently stands, with GW last year breaking the limits and becoming a $1 billion company. And it's not stopping. It's growing at a rapid pace, which brings much excitement to anybody. So I genuinely want to say this. It's a phenomenal game. I thank it for a lot of things. And if you guys ever want to try 4D chess on steroids, I highly recommend Warhammer 40,000.